Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the ESL Major League here for Heroes of the Storm, as we are in Week 4. This is going to be Day 2 of Week 4, and we've already had quite a lot of the tournament unfold before our eyes. So far, Team LDLC rocketing forwards into the lead without even dropping a single map after the craziness of what happened in Week 1, and then they had to replay that, etc., etc. But anyway, alongside me is Kaldor. How are you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing pretty well. Looking forward to the games today.
Good, good. I am as well. We've only got 2 series today, actually, which is a little bit different to the schedule that we've had for the past 3 days or so or of the league. And it's our first match is going to be between El Nexo and Well Met. So a lot of our ex-StarCraft friends are going to be playing in today's game. I'm pretty excited about this one, gotta say.
Yeah, Wilmette has to step it up. They played Wilmette just recently in an invitational, and they got completely destroyed in a best-of-3 series. They didn't win a map, and it wasn't even close. So since then, I think roughly a week passed. So they really have to step it up. I'm pretty sure that they practice quite a lot for this. And in the league, for both of the teams, it actually doesn't really look all that good. At the beginning, when we came into the season, a lot of people were saying El Nexo is going to be the team to beat. And they lost twice already. They lost to SK and they lost to Fnatic. So they really need a victory here.
Yeah, that's a really good point that you bring up. Actually, it's not even just these 2 teams that need a proper good victory. It's all the teams today that need a good victory because they are all sitting in the lower portion, really, of the 8-man group that we have going on here. So today it gets really, really important. Of course, every day is important. You need to be able to get those Ws on the board. But this one especially, it's getting into the latter half of the tournament now. You really need to start stepping it up. So do you think Wellmet can give El Nexo a fight here, or do you think El Nexo are just going to be able to outclass?
I personally expect El Nexo to outclass Wilmette. Unless Wilmette really prepared properly for this series in particular. If they had the time to really just like practice for this and come up with a couple of strategies or just like team comps that they can get through the draft, I think they have the potential to take it here. But knowing El Nexo, I think they did that as well. And the last time that I've seen the 2 teams going up against each other, as I said, Met wasn't even close. So if they maybe had a back day then and can really step it up today, they might have a chance. But going into the series, I would expect the Spanish team to take it.
And also, since the meta has, shifted ever since we had that patch, it's nice to see, as we're slowly getting into the picks and bans here, that the picks and bans aren't all as straightforward as they previously were, with a lot of Stitches and a lot of Zeratul. Of course, they're still in there, but now we're seeing a lot more variance in those picks and bans.
Yeah, we actually do. Like, it always comes down to the question if the teams wanna like let one of the melee assassins get through or not. I would say like the standard bans that we have are Zeratul and Illidan, but oftentimes you see that teams like the first team that starts usually dictates the pace of the picks and bans. If they ban one of the melee assassin, the other team usually bans the second one out as well, and then you end up with both of them not being played. But if the first team decides that they are okay and they want one melee assassin for sure, they can ban something out. Like we've seen a lot of Stitches bans, for example. And then the second team is suddenly in a lot of pressure because they have to either allow the opponent's team to take the melee assassin and they just like ban out the other one, or they say, okay, we allow both of them right now, and we'll probably end up with one team picking Zeratul and the other team Illidan. So there's like a lot of dynamic happening, and you can even increase that if instead of a hero like Stitches, you, for example, ban out Uther, which Fnatic did a lot. Suddenly there's a lot of pressure on the supports, especially on the healers, and you need to really like make sure that you get one of the good ones.
Yeah, exactly. I've seen actually that quite a few times now that you mention it. I've even seen, double support bans into the point where someone gets their first pick and they get a good healer, and then you're left with like Brightwing. And that's kind of how it goes. On some maps, it's not terrible. The first map here between these 2 is going to be Sky Temple. So let's jump into the picks and bans here, Kaldor, and see what's up.
Yeah, so Wilmette is actually starting with a ban with the first one, and as I said, I mean, there's several things that you can do. With them taking this long for the first ban, it seems pretty obvious that they are not going to ban either Zeratul or Illidan, and there it is. They go for Sergeant Hammer first, which on this map is a very, very strong pick, since you can, of course, go into those temples and then siege up and have that range work to your advantage very, very well, since the opponent has to attack into you. So with El Nexo now, I would expect them to neither ban Zeratul nor Illidan here, and then just like say, okay, you can take one of them, we're going to take the other one.
All right, well, we'll see what Nexo's going to go for. But you're right, getting rid of the hammer there. Hammer has been, in the past couple of series that I've ended up watching a lot of, it's either been a ban or one of the first very picks. So Stitches is going to be taken away here from Nexo. And this gives, well, Met a little bit of room.
Usually we have Illidan preferred over Zeratul in this patch now. You don't, there it is, Illidan immediately first picked. You can, as El Nexo, you don't have to go for Zeratul now. I would expect Vala to being picked by them since Sergeant Hammer is already banned out. Another hero that you can pick with this is, for example, ETC. Usually when you're up with Zeratul these days, sorry, with Illidan these days, you actually go, especially on Sky Temple, for ETC because you want to play it with Stage Dive.
Yeah.
And then you just like jump into the opponent's backline. So if you want a hero for the split push, ETC dives into the opponent's backline and Illidan jumps in right away. And that can really give you a lot of momentum, and both of the heroes complement each other really well in those situations so that they're not focused down. But here we're seeing something completely different. We're seeing El Nexo with something that I personally have not seen yet at all. They go for first and second pick for healer and pick all of the healers away except for, like, of course, the Brightwing. That's a crazy move, and I love it.
Yeah, it is pretty interesting. It also kind of, I mean, I have seen Malfurion here and there and stuff like that, and that's all cool too, but I'm not surprised that they took the Rehgar away from Illidan. That helps as well very, very nicely.
Yeah, but you know, like with the Rehgar, you can still play Brightwing in a way that Illidan gets a lot of support. They go for Tacita immediately, and I would personally like them to pick Vala now in addition to that. Of course, it's the question if they want to maybe have ETC over that. As I said, like ETC is one of the best heroes that you can get now in the tank line. Yeah. And now that Stitches is suddenly banned out, ETC is one of those high priority picks. So is Vala though. I wouldn't even have been surprised if Wilmette just says like, all right, we'll let the Tacita go for now, and we just like focus on those two. But then again, you want to have the support for the Tacita here. So you can still play that. Question is rather, I think they can pick ETC because El Nexo usually picks Chen. El Nexo with a double healer going for a double tank lineup, I doubt it. So yeah. Especially when your opponent is able to pick Vala. So in this case, there's a lot of damage that's already gone. Vala and Tacita is gone. So El Nexo, well, they might even go for the ETC together with the comp with Nazeebo here.
Yeah, they could. They could. At least even, you know, having moved away a lot from the idea of Mosh Pit to Stage Dive, it gives people, especially on a map like this, very, very good presence globally, at least. I've seen El Nexo time and time again actually get very good picks, even in scrims, down towards the top or bottom lane and actually jumping on people. But it's going to be ETC as well as Sonya. And it is nice to see Sonya working her way into a lot of these games now, actually.
Sonya is one of the counters that you have against Illidan now, because she can jump in with a stun, and then there's a lot of burst potential for her with Spear, and then using the slams to burst Illidan down together with the supports that you have. Well, with the support from the backline. So Sonya is being picked by a lot of teams as a counter to Illidan. That's something that we see especially being played by, for example, Fnatic, but also El Nexo is doing that now. And the last pick for them is most likely going to be a Nazeebo. Zeratul still hasn't been picked. Well met now with the option. Well, first of all, they need a healer, which is going to be Brightwing. They need a tank as well. And ETC is picked out, so they could decide to go into a Chen here and basically do what Wilmette was doing, what El Nexo was doing before. If they don't go for Chen, we've seen Arthas a little bit, but usually when we see Arthas, except for one game that I saw 3D Max play, usually it is Arthas combined with the second tank because he lost a lot of his self-sustain and has more damage as a result, like right now as a compromise basically since the last patch. So yeah, I've seen Arthas only once as a solo tank. I guess they could go for Chen here, which works quite well, but we'll see.
Yeah, it was the Tuesday's games, right? If I recall, that we saw Arthas actually in the you were casting alone with 3D Max and Fnatic. But so yeah, of course, it's cool to actually see every once in a while, but it is very situational. So let's see what they want to go for. I mean, Chen, Muradin, but Chen with the Wandering Keg and using that to push people around is always very good.
Muradin is another option, of course, that they have. Very, very tanky. Can help also with a bit of stun, thanks to the Stormbolt. Chen is something that we see a lot in the European meta. It's not so much a thing in the NA meta. They don't really understand why Chen is being picked. For them, Chen is one of the worst picks ever. They have it, I think, in most of their trash tier lists, but in Europe, it's really one of those things where you can just like have that disruption in the opponent's like setup that works very well. But I don't really know what they've been playing in the past few days. Well, met that is as tanks.
I've seen a few teams running with the Illidan and then using the Chen as also coupling up with it, because you have a lot of pursuit potential with that when it comes to, say, something like a team fight pushing forwards. Obviously, you've got the kick, and then Illidan's able to jump towards them as well. So there's a lot of body blocking potential between those two that make it very, very difficult to ever get away. But it's going to be Muradin, and, well, it's well met, and, you know me.
Yeah, it works towards what Naomi usually plays. I wouldn't be horribly surprised to see an Azebo being played with this. They need some kind of damage. They don't really... Well, they have the Sonya damage. Sonya isn't that horrible when it comes to damage output. It's not really like one of their main DPS heroes, but the Slam does quite some work. Her normal auto attacks got increased in the last patch as well. The Lightning Shield from Rhaegar is going to help you out. And instead of Azebo, they go into Reyna. I personally love that, since I like Reyna, but so far we don't see him a lot, so that's pretty cool. Didn't expect that, but I like it.
That is cool. I wonder, again, we actually spoke about this even before he was being changed, and the way in which he can control space on those altars, be it with Reyna's Raiders, which are, I tweeted out before, ungodly fast now, ever since they were changed a little bit. And then, I mean, even Hyperion can be useful as well, but my personal favorite is Reyna's Raiders, because if you do not deal with them, and if you are on that point for a long time, you're going to take quite a bit of damage. So it's nice to see him being mixed in here.
We've actually seen Hyperion a lot played recently, not particular in this map. Like both, as you said, both ultimates absolutely viable. But what I really like is that we had a lot of games where teams were trying to combo Tyrande together with Reyna and then went for Starfall and Hyperion on, let's say, Cursed Hollow. And that can actually do a lot of damage. You have the Starfall already in the area, then you can even slow the opponents down. You suddenly come in with the Hyperion. There is a lot of damage there. But Reyna's Raiders, if you want to have burst potential, is of course the better choice. I would expect them to go for Reyna's Raiders here for a very simple reason. With the Sonya that they have and everything else in the team, they kind of need burst against especially Illidan. Once Illidan is out, damage is coming from Vala, which they can also threaten afterwards. Of course, the Storms are a nuisance to deal with, especially the Archon as well. Well, Met definitely having more DPS than El Nexo, but El Nexo is going to try and out-heal that with a double healer, and they have a very tanky lineup. So I would say that they are going to try for single target damage and not for Hyperion in this case. It just combos better with what they have.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And you know, as you were saying, with that tanky lineup that they have available to them, breaking through Uther Rhaegar with the sustain that they have, and then even if someone does go low, they have ancestral healing. That is a brutal thing to go up against, even with the damage that they have in Illidan and Vala. So as long as El Nexo are really on point here about their team fights and orchestrating them well, it's going to be hard to kill them off, I feel.
Yeah, killing El Nexo is definitely going to be tricky. They have so much heal there. I'm actually like wondering. I think with a different team comp, I would have thought that they might go for Bloodlust, which we haven't seen in ages, just as a theoretical option for them.
Okay.
But in this setup, I'm not quite sure if Bloodlust really does enough for them. They have Reyna, which profits from the heroic a lot. But besides Reyna, I don't think they really have enough right-click that they can really make Bloodlust work. So in this comp, I guess they're going to go for heal. But with different heroes, it would have been pretty interesting to see which ultimate they are going for.
All right, well, we're getting loaded up into Sky Temple here for game number 1 in this best of 3. We're currently halfway through the season here at the Major League, with LDLC leading the charge up at first place. These two teams, though, sit in the middle of the pack, so they really need to put another win on the board to eventually get to that 4-team playoff at the end of the season. Obviously, El Nexo sitting in 4th at the moment, but you know, you want to solidify that a little bit more. So today is going to be important for these teams, not only these teams, but the next one's coming up. Let's get into things.
All right, welcome everybody to game number 1 of the ESL Major League. Today we're having in our first game El Nexo versus Well-Met. This is map number 1, Sky Temple. And to the left side we're seeing Vortex for Well-Met on Uther, Alistair on Reyna, Gran Paquetto on Rhaegar, Lucifer on ETC, and LOL versus XD on Sonya. To the right side it is Well-Met with Hazops on Vala. We have Soccer playing Tacita, Nomi on Murden, Shadowmar subbing in today is playing Brightwing, and we have Get Amherd on Illidan. This is the ESL Major League. I'm Carl, with me is Killaris, and we're going to bring you the coverage here on Sky Temple.
Alright, so LoL versus XD, Vortex and Lucifron going to head on through the middle. Lucifron, as you said before, on that ETC, has really found a home with it as of late, but Soccer, with the Oracle, does reveal everything moving towards this, and will be able to push them away.
Yeah, we have a double healer comp on the side of Nexo in this game. They immediately picked Uther and Rhaegar, picked them away from the opponent to decide to go into Brightwing, which on Sky Temple makes a lot of sense. The picks for Nexo, very, very tanky. Sonya picked as a counter to Illidan to just leap in and try and stun him out. Then, of course, using with Spear and Slam the burst damage that you have on her together with Reyna that they picked later on to burst Illidan down, which is going to be one of their main objectives. They took the burst healers away from Well-Met, and that's the strategy that they're running here. And for Well-Met, it's really going to be trying to take this lineup down with the damage that they have. And they do have damage with Vala, with Tasta, and of course with Illidan himself.
Yeah, the story for a little bit is going to be in top lane here, as Nomi isn't finding too much room to roam. He's just trying to poke in at the back, see if he can get a Stormbolt off, but to no avail. And Lucifron's keeping tabs on that as well. But at least here, Well-Met have the Watchtower control, so they can see any movement if Nexo was to do something a little bit strange.
Yep. We should, in this case, for Reyna, see actually a build that revolves a lot around taking the additional talents for Q. Usually on level 7, you have a bit of a difference. When you go for the increased move speed, you can go for the Q talent with the slow here. You have to be a bit careful with this. Alistair actually has to be very careful here since he's suddenly stunned out and attacked. As Ops jumped into, but Nomi taking a lot of damage from the towers and had to move back. Alistair finally reaches the gate and is able to heal up. And of course, his passive was also able to get him back to full health.
Yeah, they're going to control middle Simple, whilst the top is going over to Well-Met. At least Reyna, for now, can just sustain in this lane and keep on soaking a little bit of experience. So they will get a small lead there for a second, but with that tower actually falling, it all gets evened up, and all this is actually taking some damage from Soke in the middle, so has to be careful, needs to heal up on that wave.
Yep, already moving in with Sonya, and so far is playing the normal Sonya build. A shot of Fury on level 1 helps you out a lot since the Fury management changed in the last patch, but it was already a standard talent back then. We're having Slam talents taken on level 4, usually would take it on level 7 as well. A lot of Sonya, what she does, evolves around that Slam, so that's what he's focusing on right now. On the next level, on 4, we have already the Q talent that I talked about earlier on Reyna, going for the Confident Aim here, which is really important for him since it lowers the cooldown of his ability significantly. And besides that, Vala is playing with the traditional build going into the multi-shot. We're having one healing ward on the side of Tacita, another one, of course, with the healing totem on the side of Rhaegar. And I guess important also to mention that Muradin in this case is going for a full Stormbolt build and tries to get up the additional damage on his Q.
I really like this little move here from Nexo to try and grab this location. As they knew Good MO was going to try and solo these camp pretty early on. They do try and go for the counter initiation though. LoL vs 60 going pretty darn low. Once all this is going on, he will be able to get out.
Yeah, I got shielded there in the last second. Vortex came in with a protective shield, but Lucifron is now once again power sliding away. Needs to go for a face melt here, and there it is. Is able to push everybody away and then escapes. Nearly level 7 now on the side of the Spanish team. Nexo about to hit that, and just a few there trying to go for another camp. Once again, Lucifron is walking right into Nomi and get him hit, and can just barely move away there. The 7's now taken, and there is the Revolution Overdrive that I mentioned earlier on level 7 for Reyna.
Alright, so that's going to give him a little bit more in terms of that movement speed, which is nice. Cleanse being taken on Uther as is normal. I've actually seen a few people moving away from that and going to Wave of Light when they've seen that their opponents don't have as much crowd control, but when you're going up against a Brightwing, that cleanse is very, very useful.
Yeah, especially when you want to keep one of your heroes alive like Sonya, it's very, very helpful since she's going to be at the front all the time and she's not as tanky as ETC, so she's going to be one of the priority targets for the opponent. We're also having the Gust of Healing, of course, taken on Brightwing himself. And one of the things that's pretty important to mention here is that if you have that argument between like going either for the Q talent, for the penetrating round or talent on level 7 and the overdrive talent, you get that additional slow on your Q, but first of all you have to of course hit that, and the Revolution Overdrive helps you also to move away out of a bad situation, not only to chase down heroes, so it has a bit more usability.
Yeah, and just buffing it in general, and it gives you more options when he takes obviously confident aim before, gives you more chances to end up hitting that for the slow later on. But look at this, well met. I've already moved on to this South Temple very, very aggressively here. It's level 9-9, no level 10 in sight just yet for both of these teams. So, but Nomi actually took a lot of damage, as did Soke, as El Nexo get jumped in.
Nice kill against Soke here. Tacita already down and very well played by Wellmet so far. They're going for Shadowmar, and Shadowmar is getting very low here. Nomi already jumping out, and Shadowmar, he gets stunned with a quick spear. Lucifer nearly dead, but healed again. LoL versus 60 with a whirlwind, and very, very nice fight by them. And they have nearly level 10, so there is no way that Wellmet is going to try and contest that shrine at the bot lane again.
Yeah, very difficult. As we said, there's so much healing coming out of these two healers. Let's take a look at those numbers, actually. As they're doing quite a lot of sustain, quite a lot. Well, they've already got 15k across the board here.
The interesting part for me personally now with the talents is, well, we're basically spot on with every single talent that we called so far. ETC, of course, going for the stage dive here. But Alistair did not decide to go into Reyna's Raiders and instead chose Hyperion. We've talked about it being a very good talent on this map in general, but as I said earlier, I kind of expected him to go into Reyna's Radar to have the additional burst damage together with Sonya to get Illidan low. But of course, when you fight for those temple fights, Hyperion is a great talent to have. It's just that they don't really have a whole lot to really combo it with. So it looked like the burst damage might have been the better option, but they decided to go into the AoE damage instead. And especially against structures, it is a great ult, and that's also one of the reasons why we see it a lot more often these days. Not only in Sky Temple, but also on maps like Cursed Hollow.
Yeah, it does zone out a huge section of any lane, any map, any location that you do actually throw it down. But Zoka, in a little bit of trouble, has to shift on out of there up at the top, as the totem as well as LoL versus XT would have done a bit to him up there.
The cool thing is just like that you have on Reyna now several talents that you can take as the heroic. It's not only that one talent that you have and the rest is useless, so that's pretty cool. We have the talents, of course, the 10s now also on the side of Wellmet. Reign of Vengeance, Archon with Avatar, Emerald Wind being chosen, and Metamorphosis, which is going to help Illidan, of course, a lot. Oh, up at the top, the stage dive, Soccer low, trying to dimensional shift out of there, going straight into Archon, trying to save himself. In comes Sonya, jumping in. They are not focusing the same target here. Soccer actually getting away for now, and this is getting real tricky. Soccer down, but so is Rhaegar.
The idea of it was really cool to stage dive in and then just burst someone down, but when they didn't get him, the sustain for Wellmet came out, and even a very, very well-placed healing ward was able to keep them very, very well alive there. So, tough stuff there. Alistair wasn't present during that whole fight by the looks of things, so he was just going to walk to his death.
One of the big problems that they actually had there was that, okay, bots in this case taking over. Alistair apparently with connection problems, one of the reasons why he died here. But a big problem in that last fight was that the original idea was to burst down Soccer, and Soccer went into a dimensional shift just before he died. When he came out of it, he used his Archon and stayed alive for a bit longer. Sonya came in, and suddenly, like, half of the team stayed on Tacita and the other half were trying to occupy Illidan. And if they would have focused one hero together, I think they would have had a very, very good chance of winning that fight and killing a hero out immediately. But they lost a lot of time. Tacita was able to stay alive, and therefore the fight started to turn, and I think it was a bit of a communication problem in this case.
Yeah, it may have been. I mean, when you see someone as juicy as Tacita running away, who's so low on health, people really, really want to go and try and chase him down, but they have kept him in terms of the shrines. They've taken the middle one, and they are doing a little bit of damage towards that middle fort that should die off.
Now, well, Met is still in an experience lead, and they've been doing really well. At the beginning, they fell behind, but with problems like in the last fight for Wellmet, they can turn real fast, especially in this match. Nice contesting here down at the bottom. They steal it away, and Rhaegar was just barely in there in time. Here comes Lucifer. Nice Emerald Wind being used. Hyperion as well. The attempted draw over 60. Very nice engagement here.
Lucifer was taking a lot of damage. They peeled him up nicely though. Vortex also has to get out of there with his sprint. Jumps right on out. Alistair now taking a lot of damage, and they will bring him down finally. This Metamorphosis from Gerdheim Herd really doing work.
Yeah, and that's once again just like Illidan doing his thing, and one of the reasons why I really thought they would go for Reyna's Raiders. Bursting Illidan down or really putting the damage in on him, that's going to be one of their main tasks, and I think this is something that they currently struggle with. They need to make sure that they are not losing the boss here, or at least try to contest, but of course they have one hero down now, and again here comes the boss. Maybe he can stun somebody. Can they go for Sokka or Nomi? They're trying to.
Now on the left-hand side of this boss, as Hasuobs is a bit out of position with the Valor and unable to actually fight. Nomi's going to go very, very low, but manages to get out. Unbelievable at 30 health. Oh my god.
He had even less than that when it started, and now they are suddenly starting to lose this, of course. It was a pretty decent fight from Well-Met. They take Illidan down, and don't forget that this fight started with them being at a 4 versus 5 disadvantage. If they kill Nomi here, even with them losing the boss, they would have been able to trade 1 hero for 2. So that was a pretty good fight for Well-Met. But of course, now they trade 1 for 1, and they have the boss pushing against them. So Well-Met getting once again the edge here, and having level 16 already under the belt is of course great for them.
Yeah, definitely. Those extra talents coming in. We're seeing from the bottom to top, because Valor hasn't taken those just yet. It's going to be Blood for Blood, Criterize, Stoneform, and then we have Second Strike, with Valor deciding, I guess, between the idea of Executioner or Blood for Blood, but for me it's Blood for Blood, it's got to be.
Yeah, for Vala, usually you would see Blood for Blood. It's just like the survivability that you have, and if you're having someone that can jump in like Sonya, Blood for Blood is usually the option. I feel on Vala you don't see Executioner all that often anymore, and if you do, then you have to have a really lineup that is relying a lot on stuns. With Athers, for example, I can still see that, but yeah. Another fight coming into play here. We have a 5 versus 5 again, but the 16 versus 15 situation is a bad one for El Nexo, and they're moving back once more. It's really interesting to see how El Nexo is struggling with this right now. They had a great start into the game, and then with 2 bad fights, they kind of gave that up. It's going to be tricky for them to just like come back into this. They're trying to rotate down to the bot lane to take the shrine, but they still do not have level 16.
And Brightwing is going to take that top temple, so easily able to reinforce in case some kind of engagement goes on. You just get a few shots off, which is very, very nice. And El Nexo, yeah, just racing to 16, trying to get that. They know that it's going to be very, very difficult to end up fighting on a temple if that's to come along. And they're so close.
Mind ETC just jumping up to the top and trying to contest the shrine for now that they know that everybody else is at the bot lane.
That's
then
not
they
bad
have to, with that, they could like delay that for a bit longer, force a reaction from the rest of the team, try to get the 16 talent, but instead he goes to the top, goes for split push, and will jump into the fight at the bot lane right now. Because Lolver 16's team, they are engaging now. The full build on Q now for Reyna, and that's going to be great for them. Suddenly they have Bullseye, and Hazu goes down immediately, and Sokka needs the dimension shift away. He will die as well. There's no way he survives that. There's no way.
Yeah, too much chase, too much chase. Gerdammer going to run out there as well as Hyperion starts pushing down that lane with the rest of them. But that was a good fight. Good patience to not take that before level 16 was hit. ETC doing work up to the top left. But now Shadowmare has gotten away and is being annoying up towards top keep. So at least they can try and get some damage done whilst all this is being pushed up on.
You know, he didn't get away. He never jumped in. And that's one of the things that I find a little bit weird, because, well, he could always have tried to just like disengage with a Emerald Wind, but for some reason maybe they decided, or he made a mistake, I'm not quite sure which it was, but I would suppose that they would have told him if they needed him there. So he didn't jump in, didn't help them out, that's why they lost 2. He could push the top lane at the same time to a certain extent, but I don't think that makes up for losing 2 heroes and the bottom shrine like this.
I swear I heard the noise of him teleporting in, but he must have cancelled it, or something.
Or he teleported on one of the heroes that was dying.
Maybe, yeah. But regardless of the fact, now El Nexo are right back in this, really. Of course, they had a little bit of a bump there, a speed bump, but they are about to get level 18, which will help them considerably keep up once it gets towards those level 20 talents.
Well, we have now 17, as you said, versus 18. Oh no, and there comes the attempted kill against Shadowmare. Can he use this? Oh, he speeds himself up and is just getting away. They had, of course, to use the healing ward already. Here comes Hazobs. Oh, that was a really bad ult by him. I was trying to catch someone, didn't catch anybody. But is kind of low. They're jumping in once more. Lucifron is suddenly split off the rest of the team. Oh, that was the wrong direction, buddy.
Yeah, it definitely was. Lova 60 actually took a few of the Blood for Bloods there, but didn't die off. So there was a little on cooldown at the moment here for Well-Met, who are trying to kill off Lucifron. But the Sustainer, Vortex, and Grand PKT, they're never going to die. I can't believe it.
The cow is alive.
Oh, unbelievable.
That was unbelievable. Like, he was already to the right side of the boss, and he made it through 5 heroes and got away with ancestral healing and everything just hitting him the entire time to heal him up. was really nice. The sustain on him is insane. Of course, the imposing presence was a huge factor in there. That level 16 talent that they have on Uther and on ETC is just amazing for keeping heroes alive. And without that, he would have died like 3 times over.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal, but I can't believe he actually managed to get out during that. As for now, they're going to have to try and rival this top temple. Right Wing is going to try and teleport in here this time, does get in, but El Nexo have seized location, so looks like this might just be given up here by them.
No, or do they wrap around and try to come in from behind after a Hyperion is gone? Looks like that might be the idea, that they go for that now. But yeah, 19 versus 18. There's the fight that we've been waiting for. Storm's already hitting. Arkan is there. And we have Illidan jumping in. Lucifon is getting low, but so is Hazops. Hazops with his ult trying to save himself. They're going for him. Lolver60 is low, but Hazu, he's the main DPS. He stays alive. He gets away. Lucifon is dropping instead. They still don't get Hazu. He's still alive. And oh my god, they were able to kill even Rhaegar before he dropped Vala. Very well played here, and oh boy, is WellMed suddenly doing damage here.
Now it's going to die on the retreat out, and Vortex, Lol versus XD have to get out of there. This is going to trigger boss straight down there. They've got plenty of their opposing heroes dead. May as well go and grab that, give themselves a strong push down the bottom. And I mean, there's another 30 or so seconds before all these guys get up, so they could happily get easy camp and make that a really strong push at bottom.
I really like the way that WellMed is playing. I have to give them some credit for that. I did not expect them to play this well. The last time that I saw them against El Nexo, they were completely destroyed by their opponent. They look way better prepared this time. I really like it. Garrett actually, you see that gets stunned by the boss and messed his Q up for a second. Has of course no consequence since El Nexo is still down 3 players, so it was kind of funny to see. But yeah, they dominate this right now, and I'm really impressed. They are playing very well compared to the last few times when we've seen them on the stream. Right now they have the rewind on Muradin. They are going for the continuous wins on Brightwing. Apparently Illidan isn't quite sure if he should go for the Nexus Blades, for his Blink, or for Demonic Form. Decides in favor of Blink, as does Vala, and now they're of course trying to kill the second keep.
And it's going to take a lot of damage. Very difficult to stop a 5-man push here with the boss as well. ETC's up to the top, so he's not committing to the 5-man just yet. This is definitely going to fall. They really need to take down this boss, though. It could do some damage.
Yeah, they're going for core now. They want to finish this. And, well, ETC won't be able to do too much in terms of trying to aim for 20. Hazops is so... Oh my god, that save with the Rain of Vengeance. Killing Uth out. Hazops is safe again. Lolver60 is dying out too. And, well, this kind of has to be the conclusion here, right?
Yeah, that Rain of Vengeance at the very end. About 4 of them were lined up in that. And unfortunately, they get absolutely slammed. There you go.
GG is called. And yeah, this is game number 1 ending up in the favor of WellMed taking the 1-0 in the best of 3 series. Congratulations.
Yeah, impressive stuff to start things off. And I also wasn't really expecting that. They came out of the gates swinging, and now we're going to have to find out if WellMed can kind of take this. If they're able to take this series in its entirety, then that would be absolutely fantastic for them as a result here, because they are sat in 5th, just behind El Nexo at the moment. So a win here, I believe, will be able to propel them above El Nexo. Yes, that's correct. So
I think they really had big problems with their damage here. And that's one of the reasons why I personally feel that Hyperion was a massive mistake. Because if you look at how they did their damage, they were always trying to focus a hero down. And instead of like going straight for Illidan, they were trying to get Vala down first. So they usually jumped in, were putting the pressure on Vala. And the Hyperion, I saw, to be honest with you, I saw one Hyperion that I liked, and that was the one in the last fight that they had up at the top. Every single Hyperion, besides that, was easily dodged by the opponent and never really made a big impression in the fight itself. So they were trying to get Vala down. They never really got Vala. And if they have Reyna's Radars, they get the additional single target DPS that they need to really kill her here. They have only 1 range DPS. All of the other damage comes from mainly Sonya. And these heroes just weren't able to do enough to deal with that, even with a double healer keeping them alive. You have Tessa on the other team with the shield, and yeah, that was, I think, the biggest problem that they had here.
Yeah, every single burst down on a Valor attempt just did not really go their way. Maybe once or twice in some of those fights in the mid, but up towards the temple, down towards the bottom when they were being pushed with that boss as well, they were not able to bring down Hasu. So he survives, and they push on and win. So that was a good game by them. Going into game number 2, we actually don't know our map just yet. We're waiting on them to decide what that's going to be. There is one veto and then one pick, or have the rules changed so far? Because they keep changing like every week.
As far as I know, it's still double ban and then you pick.
Okay, a double ban then pick.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit different from the rest of the terms, but as far as I know right now, it's still double ban on the map and then you pick your like double ban by one team and then pick.
All right, well, we're just waiting then for Well Met to do their bans. Then El Nexo should be able to pick, or the other way around, I can't quite remember. Okay, yeah, so it's going to be ban Black Hearts and then ban Mines here from Well Met.
Yep.
Neither of those really wanting to be played on, I guess, here from these guys. We don't really see too much Mines or even Black Hearts at the moment here in the tournament. And then what do you think El Nexo really goes to here? Maybe Cursed?
Yeah, Cursed or Garden, probably. Yeah. I mean, I know that they love Black Hearts, which is the reason why it's banned. Mines is being banned because it's too random, and besides that, I'm not sure which one of the 3 remaining maps that we usually see they are really preferring here.
Okay, so they're just deliberating things in chat now to figure out which it's going to be. It's going to be Cursed. Which not surprised at all in the slightest, and then not surprised if we see an El Nexo special with their Chen and etc. When we get into picks and bans, so I'll tell them that we're good to go with that as well.
I still think that the picks and bans, I mean, it was really interesting to see it. I really, really wonder if with a different ult on Reyna, they would have been able to make it work. Because that lineup, you know, like on other maps, if you force Brightwing out, yeah, but here, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. It's not even like they have too much to... I mean, when you're in a team fight like that, it's difficult to start saying, right, well, you know, we've got to kill the Raiders. Like, you can't just say that. You can't just... you've got to be focusing on other targets that are causing more of a priority or more of an issue. So they're always doing a lot of damage in those fights, and they are focusing someone down, and it's very difficult to deal with. So yeah, it was an interesting choice. In the end, I suppose it didn't really pay off for them too much here with the Hyperion.
I mean, Hyperion can be strong, but I mostly see Hyperion when the other team when you have something else that really works well with it, like Starfall, as mentioned before.
Yeah.
But I mean, right now that game is over. I would be surprised if El Nexo goes for something like this again if they really try to make that work once more. But they needed more damage, and it was pretty transparent. Like, they could not drop Vala. If Vala drops, different story, but Hazop's always dodging, keeping himself alive. Had a couple of really nice Rain of Vengeance there, especially at the end, where he was just like running away from her opponent with a quick vault. Everybody was lining up. He dropped the Rain of Vengeance. They were able to get 1 or 2 kills out of that, and then the fight started to snowball, and Hazu never dropped because everybody just focused on keeping him alive with the protective shield on Brightwing. Brightwing, of course, trying to create some space as well. Then you have Archon, who used this shield too, and it's, yeah, I mean, Vala played this very well and was kind of the key hero, I feel.
Yeah, and when you're in a role like we see Hasu there, being the damage dealer, being the Vala, it's interesting to see where they put the blood for bloods. Obviously, sometimes you don't quite get to see it exactly where it goes in those team fights, but do you take a lot of health from one of the tanks that's going to be helping you out, or obviously you actually want to bring down someone like Sonya who's chasing you, but it also takes away a lot of health. So Sonya's a prime pick in those kind of fights for blood because you're stealing a decent amount of health, but you're also slowing down and also healing yourself up as well. So that's definitely something that you need to consider when you're going into those fights.
Yeah, and one of those things is also that Sonya doesn't have imposing presence. So with her lacking that, it's easier to drop her because you can focus on that. Yeah, Stone Skin is annoying, but still, it's like a flat HP increase if you so want in that certain time frame that you have. But it's not that imposing presence thing that saved, for example, in the middle of the match, ETC, when he was just like running through 5 heroes and not dropping one. So that was pretty impressive there.
Yeah, it was. Imposing Presence. I've liked Imposing Presence for a long time. Even before they buffed Imposing Presence in the amount of percent it slowed your opponent down, I still liked it. And then it got buffed up to 50%, and then I liked it even more. But before the patch, it slowed in an area around you, I think. And now it's like when they focus you down. So...
Yeah, the thing that's really nice is that it is great for the healers, but of course it's also a counter to a lot of builds immediately. Like against heroes that rely heavily on their right click,
Yeah,
it's too strong right now, I would say. Especially if
50% is
you
a lot.
consider talents like Giant Killer. For Giant Killer to really be useful, you want to have a right-click build. So a lot of heroes would like then go for, like on Vala, for example, you can go for a right-click build if you want to really play with Giant Killer in that case, and you want to drop a single target, then suddenly one of your tanks takes imposing turns, and you're like, well, my entire build just went to shit. I can't touch that guy. So that's a bit too strong, I feel. So yeah.
All right. Well, I think I've just broken the drafting tool. So,
Why? How come?
I pressed refresh as they were doing it, and now it's not popping up.
It's gonna take a second.
Oh,
I can
okay.
tell you what happened. So Nexo is currently banning out Illidan first, so we're probably gonna see a Zero Tool ban by Well Met, and they're meeting that, so that would suddenly be the situation that we described earlier, where both of the melee assassins are being banned out, and Well Met so far hasn't made any moves yet for the first ban. So yeah, Illidan so far the only one that's banned out. Well Met taking their sweet time to think about what exactly they are doing here, and the normal ban would be to go for Zeratul. Because with Zeratul, if you leave him up right now, El Nexo can ping him first, but they go Stitches.
Ooh.
They actually allow a single melee assassin in the game, and El Nexo can now either go for one of the DPS heroes as their first pick, which is sometimes happening, or they can go for Zeratul here. So this is going to be a pretty interesting one. Well, Met's going for Stitches instead of Zeratul, not the double assassin ban that we see.
All right, so what are the next are going to go for? If they do go for Zeratul, that can cause a lot of problems here, but they're going to go for Hammer because Hammer is awesome. Hammer does so much damage. Hammer is just in general fantastic.
So I assume that yours is fixed now. Okay.
Yes, it is.
All right. Yeah, sorry, I just kept talking because I assumed that you weren't done. Yeah, so well met. First of all, like, we are very, very likely to see Vala. No matter what they pick right now, Vala is very, very likely to be one of the two, because if they don't, El Nexo will happily take the second DPS hero as well.
And, well, met with the two choices that they have here. If they went for the Zeratul and Vala themselves, they're going to go Tassadar. So Tassadar Vala is the more likely of the choices here.
Them picking Tassadar is also good if El Nexo goes for Zeratul.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that they have there. That's why Tassadar is now suddenly becoming a very, very good pick. He's also a good pick regardless, but he's an even better pick if you know that your opponent might go for Zeratul. And actually in games like this, we sometimes even end up with Zeratul not being picked at all. Doesn't happen all too often, but yeah. I would still expect them to go for Vala as their second pick and not for anything else, just to have that DPS, because if they don't do that, then El Nexo is definitely going to try and pick up Vala. Velmet is probably going to end up then with, nope, there it is, it's Vala.
Yeah, and if they go for Rain of Vengeance here, again, it's like Cursed Hollow has so many of these small, narrow corridors that Rain of Vengeance can cause a huge amount of problems on a map like this if they're out of place. But El Nexo with 2 picks now. Do we think we see ETC pretty soon here for them? Because, again, it's actually stage dive even on this map is very, very good to just get around.
I wouldn't be surprised to see ETC. Stitches is banned again. El Nexo loves to play with Chen. I think in the last game they didn't do it because of the double healer comp that they were playing. They've played also comps where they actually go for both of them, but ETC is great. If they want to pick their opponent something away, they're going to go ETC. If they just want to rely on the normal thing, they're going to go for that Chen. But they go double healer again. They really seem to like that these days.
Wow. All right. And they keep, again, they keep going this double healer on, well, Sky Temple and Curse. 2 maps that are pretty good for global presence, so I don't even mind too much the idea of Brightwing being in this game if Wellmet wants to go for that later on. So, yes, it gave them a lot of sustain before, but at least this time El Nexo have good damage to start things off with the hammer.
That's the big difference. Now they have a really good damage hero. I mean, Reyna in itself is not bad, but he just doesn't give you the same amount of DPS that Sergeant Hammer has. So with that, El Nexo already in a better spot for this. And I'm curious to see how they are going to run with things, because, well, Met, I mean, there's not going to be a triple healer for El Nexo, so you can pick your healer last as well, Met. You can say, okay, our last pick is going to be Brightwing. And then you think about your tank right now and what else you want to get. And usually that would be something like ETC. And then with ETC, they could go Nazebo. They Yeah, Nazebo would definitely be a good pick. They can go for something completely different and play even. They could even play with a Tyrande here. So they have a few options of what they could do. Tyrande together with the Tacita Storm and Archon would also give them some damage. But yeah, they have definitely options right now. Don't forget that Zeratul is also still on the board, but ETC should usually be their choice of
Yeah.
tank.
I mean, they could, yeah. I mean, ETC still being there does kind of eliminate the idea of what I'm about to say, but Tyrande Muradin is something that they've ran on Cursed Hollow pretty successfully.
Yep.
There's Tyrande, and they used it as a roaming composition, and it stuns into Lunar Flare with the Hunter's Mark on top of it as well, does a lot of damage, so there is that potential.
Velmet likes Muradin.
Yeah.
I could see them take Muradin. Muradin as a hero is still very, very solid and very good. It's just like that most teams prefer to play ETC right now. But with Velmet, you're certainly right. I mean, they've shown that in the past, and we've seen, I think, we've seen the comp between Muradin and Tyrande more by Fnatic than by any other team. But Velmet loves to play Muradin, so they could go for that instead of picking the ETC, which would then, of course, also mean that Nexo can play ETC if they want, or the Chen. But it's a very good point. Like, they have both of these options.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, oh, actually, wow. Okay, gonna go Nazebo. That means that well, are they gonna use Tyrande here as like a full support Tyrande? Because
they are gonna use double healing ward and Tyrande with a heal for and try to keep that. Didn't they do that already? Like,
this is interesting.
I have seen this. I'm just asking myself when that was. Was that the last game that they actually played?
Search the depths of your mind, Kaldor. Well, let me have a look at my folder as well, because this is not what I expected, I'll be honest.
I've definitely seen this, and the last time I've seen this, it failed. It didn't work. It just wasn't enough damage. Sorry, not enough heal. That has a lot of damage. You have the double healing ward. You have the shield from the Tacita, so you can do a lot with this. The problem that you really have is that out DPSing the two healers is going to be a bit of an issue, and you're going to run out of steam at some point. And you have also 3 squishies in the lineup. So El Nexo, I mean, this is going to be interesting from their point of view now as well, because first of all, they are going to play one tank for sure. And then the second question is, now that Nazebo is being picked away, their options in damage are also limited. They could go for Arena again if they think that they need more DPS. There's still the option for them to go for something like Zeratul, which is also going to help them. Chen, first of all, and Zeratul. Yep, there it is. Chen and Zeratul. So I like that. Chen is also going to be able to barrel everything away, so there's a lot of potential to stun out Nazebo once he starts his ult. And you can always isolate a hero now with a Chen. And that is dangerous.
But this is kind of why I thought Well Met earlier on in their picks would go for even Zeratul themselves after taking Tassadar. You know, of course, it does work as good defense against it, but it also meant that if they were to take Zeratul themselves, then unfortunately El Nexo didn't have the option to take Tassadar for the Oracle to actually spot him because they'd already taken it. But that's not obviously the case as it goes, so at least they had the defense there at the very beginning for what was taken at the very end by El Nexo, and now, Well Met, it surely has to be. Well, I mean, they could go Malfurion actually, but I mean, there's no tank. There's no. My brain.
No. They need a tank with this. This is not going to be a healer. You can't play this comp if you don't have anybody at the front line at all. You need somebody. I think if they pick anything else but a tank, it's complete suicide, and they go for Muradin. Yeah, tanky, gonna keep them alive for a bit. But this comp is going to be tricky.
Yeah.
So I can't remember which game that was where I saw that.
Well, I can't remember either, man. I'm sorry. But I am very, very surprised by the lineup that we're seeing here from Well Met. It's an interesting one that they bring to the table. We already spoke about the Tyrande Muradin little roaming comp that is a potential for them, and indeed that has come out in the very, very last pick there. So no doubt I'm expecting to see them try and get some of those earlier kills with that, but they've also got to be very, very mindful of the fact that early kills don't matter as much as I used to think they really did. So
early kills don't matter at all unless you get a kill on a lane where the hero is the single hero there.
Yeah.
Then they start to matter, but yeah.
Yeah, if you can take away from that soaking of that experience in the lane, it certainly helps, but you're right. So anyway,
I got it.
Okay.
They played it against El Nexo already.
Okay.
In the Planet Key Dynamics Invitational,
Ah, okay.
on Sky Temple, they played the exact... No, actually, they played Nazeebo, Tyrande, Tacida, had instead of Murden ETC, and instead of Vala, Sergeant Hammer. So
Okay.
just like switching out the tank and the DPS. And they got horribly destroyed.
Okay.
So, different map, Sky Temple. Same idea behind the build that they played here. So, if they have this much confidence in playing it against the same opponent that already completely wrecked them, yeah, they must have a reason, right?
Yeah,
So, I'm curious to see how all that measures up against El Nexo's lineup here.
Yeah, so am I. So am I. I mean, they're already one game up. If they're able to... It's clearly something that they've practiced a lot with. Otherwise, they wouldn't be going into these kinds of picks to actually try and make it work against El Nexo here. So they must have some confidence in it. And if they're able to take a second game here and defeat El Nexo 2-0, they will move above them in the Major League. So this is an important game.
Game number 2 on Cursed Hollow at the ESL Major League. We're having El Nexo going up against Wilmette, and right now El Nexo is down 1 game in the best-of-3 series. Wilmette able to win the match on Sky Temple. We're looking to the left side now on El Nexo with Vortex on Uther, Lolver60 on Zeratul, Alastor on Sergeant Hammer, Karan Pakete on Rega, and Lucifron on Chen. To the right side in red, it is Hazops for Wilmette on Vala, Gerd Amherd on Nazeebo, Shadowmar on Tyrande, Nomi on Murden, and Soccer on Tacida. So in this case, we're having Wilmette without a designated healer here in this comp, a comp that they played against El Nexo before and lost in a different tournament though. So let's find out if they can win it here. I'm Carlo with Miss Calaris, and we're gonna jump right into the game here on Cursed Hollow, the second match between Wilmette and El Nexo.
Alright, so El Nexo currently 4 in the middle looking for whatever they can find. Hasu and Shadowmare just sat in the bush, not really finding too much. Nomi and Zoka quite far out to what in enemy territory, but Hasu and Shadowmare do come in from the right-hand side, lock down the loose Vortex, and well, they will be able to get out.
Yeah, Vortex is barely getting away there, and once again, the level 1 healing ward on Gran Paquete's Rega helps a lot. Sentinel taken, or Pierce I should say, taken on level 1, the Sentinel talent for Tyrande. Very likely that we're therefore also going to see the same skill being boosted on level 16 then with the Ranger instead of the second Lunar Flare talent. So a bit more DPS on her, not going for those comps where you just like try to have a Hunter's Mark ready every single time that your tank can throw a stun, but there we have the attempt anyways. Vortex getting very, very low, healing himself, and he just stays alive without a double healer. That hero is lost.
Close, close, close. As he's going to have to move back a Shadowmare, get himself a little bit of health, and he'll join up with Nomi once again just to go on that roam. If they could find a Hammer kill down to the bottom, that would be fantastic, but Hammer's always going to be very, very wary because he knows, even going into the start of this game, that this was going to be the roaming comp.
This is also a very, very funny situation if you think about the team comps in general. It's a double healer comp against a no healer comp. Disregarding for a second that Tyrande has a bit of heal, which Wilmette is of course going to rely upon to a certain extent. And don't forget the double healing what we're going to see from Tacida and Tyrande. But yeah, that roaming squad is going to the top again. Nomi and Shadowmar on the way, but the kill against Nazeebo hits first. Vortex is paying with his life for it though.
Yeah, that's a nice counter-initiation there from Shadowmare as well as Nomi. They knew something was up. They realized that they were missing from mid, so they had to be somewhere. And Lucifron actually taking a bit of damage as well, but it's a Chen, so he probably won't die at this point.
Chen's die? When did that happen? Does that change something?
Not too often, my friend.
Tyrande waiting here for the healing ward. Still we're having for both of the teams 1 gathering power taken, as of course Lolver60 and Zeratul picked that talent. On level 1 he went for the Greater Cleave, which we actually see less and less these days. Instead it's most of the time block or the reduction in cooldown on Blink. But in this case we are still having Cleave being used. On level 4 for Rega, a very important talent, Farsight, which is just extremely good. It's like the best revelation talent that you have there, because you can always just use it every 30 seconds and you have vision for 10. Oh, Vortex in the mid lane again falling victim to that comp with Nomi's stun on Stormbolt and of course Shadowmask Tyrande.
Yeah, he got aggressive at just the wrong time when he threw it down the stun on Well Met, and then unfortunately the other two came in right after that had happened. So a little bit unfortunate there was Vortex, and now they get that trib basically free down to the bot. But obviously Chen and Gerdam are not moving at all from the top because they want that lovely experience.
Yeah, and in experience, they're still on a very, very similar level. 2 kills against 1, so in that there's not a big difference between them. Chen is going for Brewmaster's balance there, or for Swift Reflexes, sorry, on level 4. Brewmaster's balance is going to hit now on level 7, I suppose. Yep, there it is. We're having a double first aid that's been taken by Zeratul and also by Sergeant Hammer. Zeratul's build changed after the last patch significantly on this talent. Now we're seeing first aid picked nearly exclusively, since the Cleave talent that you would take before that got moved to 16.
Which does change things a lot, you're right. And now Tribute has been put up at the top, so who's going to be able to really rival this? I think that they might have to give this up. With Shadowmare and Nomi already well in position, they could do a lot to anybody who comes in.
They're not really going for that just yet. They still had the hard cam taken. They're going to try and just like stun that out for as long as they can, delay it, and maybe then rotate a bit later. But Zeratul, as you can see, is still going into the mid lane. It's just like trying to delay it for as long as they can and buy some time.
Oh, and actually pushed it away. They looked for some damage up at top for Lucifron, but again, going on to Lucifron here is a little bit difficult. He is going to survive quite heavily, and good delays here so far by Grandpaquette as well as Vortex.
And that's by some time. Oh, nice! Hazo's being attacked here. Lolver60's job in this game is, of course, to put pressure on those squishies. Oh, and Hazops gets taken out. Lucifron jumping in on the Brewmaster. But yeah, putting pressure on Vala with Zeratul and then Chen to finish the job. Well done. Well coordinated as well.
Yeah, had to pick up that kill, had to pick up that tribute. Considering that we have Soccer still at bot lane doing some damage here, soaking that experience, whilst Hammer was away for a little while during all of that as well.
Yeah, credible hits now with a Storm Talent against the tower at the bot lane. Soccer not able to kill that, but close. But yeah, that's of course one of the most important talents that you have on the hero, that static charge on level 7, so that you can get those crits, and you rely a lot on those if you really want to do the damage, and that's what he's currently trying to do. Alistar is pushing him back.
Might take a little bit of damage here if he's not careful, though. He realizes everything had been rotated. Here come the level 10 talents. It's going to be Reign of Vengeance, Avatar, Archon, Starfall, and finally, probably Ravaging Spirit, just saying, on the Nazebo.
We've seen actually a few times Gargantian, very like rare the talent still, but sometimes against, for example, Sonya compositions, if you look at LDLC, they pick Gargantian because they say if we go into Ravenous, we're going to be stunned out immediately when we use it, so we're going to get more out of like the worst talent than the good one because of that immediate stun reaction from the opponent. So it's pretty cool to see that, but I mean in 95% of the cases we still have the Ravenous Spirit, which is obviously going to do the better job.
Yep, it does a lot of damage if you're able to get it off. I think in the NA scene it's very highly regarded, even more so than the European scene, but well, for now, they can't get anywhere near that trib. Good zoning out there by Shadowmare and Nomi that were lying in wait for anything to come along. But, you know, Nexo tried to do some damage at the middle. Didn't even get any of those towers, but they're very low now to just be brought down quickly.
I personally love to see it, by the way, Gargantian. I kind of had to play... Nazebo is a great hero, but it's not really my favorite to play, but I had to play him for a couple of things. And I named my Gargantian, it's called Richie. And Richie on the map is, like, amazing. You can have a lot of fun with him. But now at the bot lane, it is Hazops, who might actually a bit too far out. Gets healed, heals himself actually, and Vortex is jumping in and wants to try and stun out Hazops. Healing what is there, and the cleave, and Hazo, oh yes, oh my god, he survived.
Able to dodge the Divine Storm and just get out of there overall. That was cool stuff there. Well met.
Unbelievable. Hazops was like, I mean, he was dead in the waters. Like, I didn't even see that hit point bar anymore. And suddenly he survives and gets a shield. That was crazy good by Wellmet. The problem for them, of course, is that they're so far behind in experience that they are going to lose out on talents now. And it's an important tribute to fight for. At least for El Nexo, that is. I feel that Wellmet has to let that go.
Definitely. Here comes Sprint. We've got Wormhole, Giant Killer, Feral Lunge, as well as Relentless being taken all the way down this line. And, well, that poses a big problem. It allows that to go away. So now the next tribute is going to be super important. 13 has to come in very soon here for Wellmet. Thankfully, of course, it will before that next trib spawns.
Yeah, Giant Killer is really interesting on Sergeant Hammer. I like the 13 talent on her a lot because you have so many options right now. Since we've seen teams go for all kinds of things. We've seen a lot go for the Spider Mines, where only, of course, the one in the middle is now really pushing the opponent away. We've seen some of them taking Barricade. One of the heroes that, or one of the players that does it a lot is, for example, Bakery. For SK Gaming, but a lot go for Giant Killer now as well. So this is one of those talents where you just have so many options, and all of them are roughly on the same level.
Here come the reinforcements for this wall. They really need to eliminate this hard camp from doing a little bit too much more damage here. We're seeing Wellmet position themselves on down to the bottom and on the way to the right, so just pushing out that lane at the bottom.
Tacit still thinking about going for pre-science or going for Shrink Ray here. I like it that he waits with the talent and just waits what is going to be more important for him. And it is pre-science, so goes for that. That will give him a lot more tankiness and, of course, the ability to get away, activating that second dimensional shift, as now the second or the third tribute for both of the teams is activated.
Yeah, very, very important now to see who is going to be able to get this one. Nomi actually leaps on in, straight up onto Lucifron. He's going to be able to tank quite a bit, though, there. Also healed, kicks back, and is actually going to go for the Wandering Keg, pushing some of them away, and actually isolating quite heavily.
Yeah, pushing them all into the team right now. Here comes the ultimate, though. I really did not like that ult from Lucifron at all. I mean, we can talk about this in a second. Well, I guess now that the two of them are already dead and Lucifron is trying to get away, he's going to be taken out as well. Yeah, there it is.
It didn't do the job he wanted it to, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think he didn't achieve anything.
Yeah.
He didn't isolate a hero. He basically pushed the entire opponent's team into his team. Didn't isolate a hero, didn't also wait until Nazeebo was trying to use his ult, which would have then, of course, interrupted that, which you see from a lot of champs. And another problem that he had, after he was done with the Wandering Kick, Nazeebo was in a great position to use his ultimate in the first place, which was, that did not really help them. That actually was very counterproductive.
Yeah, not much. That's a tough situation to be in here for Nexo, who are now cursed, and there's the potential that they'll lose this boss if they don't react accordingly and properly to it. Of course, they have a little bit more mana here going into this next fight than what we're seeing from Wellmet, but they've already taken it. They had to give it up, so two bosses pushing each lane and the curse. Wellmet is not having the best of days.
They played really well at the beginning. Like, it surprises me. They were a level ahead. They had level 13 when their opponent had level 12. And now suddenly, just in the blink of an eye and with one really bad team fight, Vortex gets taken out.
Ancestral Healing was like so close to popping, but
they are so screwed right now. I mean, 16 talent already. Stone Form taken. We have Thunderclap on 13, probably for the additional damage. Yes, there it is. Specialized Toxins for Nazeebo. Vala is going to go for Blood for Blood. And Tyrande is going for the Ranger's talent. So, of course, by the way, Pierce is also amazing on this talent to disrupt if your opponent is trying to take a curse. So it's not the only reason that they want to do damage here. But this is very, very surprising. Big blunder by Nexo in the last team fight, and they pay the price for it right now.
Oh, they paid a huge price. They're going to try and push them back here. Nomi goes a little bit far in, but he's healing up quite considerably anyway, thanks to the Stone Form, and able to just kind of sustain through all of that. But at least LoL vs XT catches one with the Void Prism. Nomi might take a lot of damage here. They've got to support him, but...
Now once again, Wandering Keg. This time they try to go for Tyrande, and they get her. Much better right now. They need to take those two healing wards down, but actually, Wellmet moves away from them. They can't fight here. They have one hero down already, so Nomi is going to die there too. Question is, can they kill more than that? And as Sokka is being attacked, there's a very high chance that he is going to fall as well.
Yeah, he was very, very close to being able to mount up and just get out of there, but that's not going to be the case. So they get a little bit of a consolation prize after losing a keep in the middle, having both of those golems doing quite a lot of damage, but at least breaking through the walls. They really need to grab themselves like a fort or two here off the back of this to Nexo.
I mean, we're still in a situation where you can really see that in terms of healing, Wellmet is not doing as bad as you would suspect, just because the double healing ward is doing so much. And in both of the fights that we've seen so far, the double healer lineup didn't really have a chance to heal a lot, since they died first in those fights. Especially, I feel that Ute had a pretty bad time. He was like one stunned out in the mid lane as well when they were taking the hard camp, so that was of course a problem for him. But once they get their heal up, I think that Wellmet is going to have a bit of a tougher time. They're starting to lose now the mid lane. So as the game progresses, I would give the advantage here to Nexo still, even though that one fight really put them in a very, very bad spot, as we already mentioned, even losing a keep in the mid lane now. But yeah, they are definitely not out of this.
Well, they get very powerful at level 20 once that comes along, that's for sure. As this trip's going to spawn, and they definitely want to contest this. If they get it, they do get the curse on their opposing side. So, at least for now, has to reposition himself. Those owls doing a lot of damage, 800 damage going in there to Lolver's 60.
Once again, down here with a 5 versus 5, going for the tribute that would put a curse on them. As you already said, Lolver 60 can even with the Wormhole jump in, get this double bombs and just move away. We're having also Blood for Blood taken on Rega, imposing presence on Uther. Is going to make him survive probably a bit more from that right-click damage. Nice Starfall that we're seeing here. They might have to wrap around at the bot line. Yeah, going maybe for Zocke here. Starfall is not going to last forever either.
No, and nobody's died just yet from Lucifer on El Nexo side of things, as the zombie wall is extremely annoying for him, but this fight is going to continue on. They have more sustain on the side here of Vortex and Grandpa being able to heal these guys up, so Wellmet can't stick around here forever.
Yeah, they won't be, but they have also now down at the bot lane. Gadam had in a good position for his ultimate. He's not using it just yet. He waits for the fight to really start. Lucifer is jumping in. Here comes the keg, and Gadam is soon using his skill. There it is, but Tirana is already down. Vortex is a bit in trouble as he gets hit by the Rain of Vengeance. Vortex stuns, one out, gets his ult in. He goes down. Uther is now dead. Vala is dead as well, though, and suddenly we're having Wellmet on the run. No, they start to turn it around with Nomi at the front.
They're trying, but Zocke is going to be very, very low. He doesn't have Archon to save him at all. There's the shift, but he is going to fall. And Gerdheim and Nomi have to get out of there. I liked how Gerdheim tried to use his ultimate there. Of course, it was doing quite a bit of damage, but he used his zombie wall on the left-hand side on that bush just in case somebody was there, but it also will block anybody coming around to try and stop him. But it was a well-timed, a well-placed Void Prism that shut him down for just a little bit.
But what I really have to say is that El Nexo seems to be struggling against his ult. In the last fight that we had, like the fight that snowballed everything, he had a perfect ult. He could get it the whole duration through. Yep. And even in this fight, it lasted nearly in the entire duration. Yeah, so they have a lack of heroes that can really shut him down. So far, we are basically seeing 3, but one of them has to get really close, and Uther just has to be in a different spot. I'm just not so sure if Lucifer should really use his ult this fast. They, of course, are trying to isolate a hero to initiate the fight, but it's very tricky for them if they don't keep tabs on Zebo.
They're going to have a hard time really contesting this up to the top left-hand corner, right-hand corner even, I should say, as Uther's now on the way to support this. They took a fort to the middle because they are indeed cursed, so at least that gives them a catch-up in experience. And now Lolver versus XT going on to Hasu. Hasu did so much damage, though, with that blood-for-blood tap off.
Yeah, but with the double healer, they're still in good spot. Gadamhead is using his ult. If they can get away now, that's all that they need to do. Lucifer is this time cancelling that immediately. Here comes the Rega ultimate, saving him for now. They're already moving back, waiting out the Archon 2. There is still Void Prism and also the Uther stun available.
Vortex taking quite a bit of damage, but oh, that Void Prism. If they can follow it up with something, but the Uther did fall, so there's no extra little power to this. As Lucifer also dies off as well. The Void Prism didn't do a huge amount, really.
Yeah, the Void Prison, I mean, Uther, you could really see how Uther was trying to move in and do the damage, and the immediate call by Wellmet, drop him now. And they were focusing him as fast as they could. He got a stun in then later, and of course the Uther Ghost himself can also then do quite a lot. But there's really a ton of damage on the opponent's lineup. And fighting in this situation, that didn't really help them, so that spot worked against them. Yeah, Wellmet, with all the damage that they have, they are doing really well. And so far, I'm missing the synergy a bit on the side of the Nexo.
Yeah, it's as if they had to pick a damage dealer at the very end, and as much as, yes, Zeratul is a great hero, I mean, with the Void Prism and them not able to engage as properly as they would like, if Void Prism goes down and then they get a Divine Storm off the back behind that once everything goes on, but that was a prolonged fight where Divine Storm was already on cooldown, etc., so I think it was kind of tough there.
To be frank though, I think when we reach level 20, Wellmet has a big problem. just because there are going to be great talents for El Nexo.
Yeah.
Well, Met is going to have, of course, a nice increase in theirs as well, but we're probably going to see a Storm Shield on Tyrande. Then we have a double stun on Muradin, but that doesn't really compare to the double bombs that you have on Zeratul. So I feel the level 20 talent is going to be much better for El Nexo. The problem is they might take too many losses until they reach it.
Yeah, they might. If we can see a really good engagement here from Well Met, actually just pushing on forwards. They're going to go towards core, and they're all very healthy here. Of course, the Annihilating Spirit is now on cooldown, but Lucifer's going to take a lot of damage, and the Void Prism is going to be able to save him for a lot.
Yeah, actually, like the Void Prism in a decent spot. The Vortex just barely gets away thanks to the healing ward, and that core is not gonna fall. Lucifer might though. They're trying to heal him, and he's gonna be able to get away. But now with the level 20 talents, we're having the increased range and attack speed for Sergeant Hammer. There's also the rewind on Lolver60, and now they're starting to chase. Nice Lunar Flare, dropping Lucifer, at least making him regret his decision to chase them this fast. But now it's still 20 versus 20. 2 keeps down, and 9 kills against 9. So this is now going to be a very interesting one, because the level 20 talent gave El Nexo a huge boost.
Yeah, definitely. The wave clear here for Hammer, just to end up shutting down all of these waves as they come along, is going to be very quick. So even though they've lost keeps, they can still plow through that. And then, of course, you know, Chen actually getting in there with his hardened shield and just being able to throw that up is going to be even tankier than he was before. So it's going to be difficult to really deal with him, especially if they take engagements towards Tribs where it is in narrow locations and he gets a good wandering kick. If he can isolate 1 or 2 people in this fight, then it could completely turn around.
We are talking 3 squishes on the side of Well Met, and especially Tyrande is low in HP, just even when she's at full HP. So Lolver60, it can put a lot of pressure on her now with the rewind. We're having a much easier stun on Uther against the entire opponent's team, or even only against the Zevo, depending on what he wants. We're seeing the near invulnerability for 4 seconds on Chen, which is going to be great when he starts jumping in with his wandering kick and comes out of it. And we're, of course, also seeing that extra damage that exists on Sergeant Hammer. So in a straight-up fight, or even like in a prolonged one, I would definitely give the edge now to El Nexo. They've lost 2 of the keeps, which is a big problem to them. But in the fights, they should do better right now. I still have to say that I am very impressed once again by how well Met plays today. They got, against El Nexo just a week ago, absolutely destroyed without having a chance in the world. And right now they are not only ahead in the best of 3 series, but they're playing a great game with a comp that the last time didn't do anything for them. So I'm very impressed. Great play by them.
Yeah, they are doing very well. So far, they're staring down a 2-0 victory. If they can just find even just 1 or 2 kills, if they were able to get them in an ambush, anything like that, then that will make it considerably harder here for El Nexo to really pull back, because those bottom 2 lanes are being pushed pretty hard constantly. And, well, here comes the tribute. I don't think they're going to contest it, El Nexo. I really don't.
Yeah, well, I mean, they could. What we're seeing here from Well Met is just like trying to catch the opponent at some point and maybe get a kill in there. It's of course also a question of when exactly those bosses are going to come up again. Yeah, we have a position for Hazobs where they apparently are waiting for the rest of El Nexo to move up, but Tyrande is already going for the tribute, and it looks like we're seeing Lucifer, Vortex and his team just like moving straight for that fort and killing that out. They can't. Nope, they're not taking it. Bit surprised by that. I guess they are afraid that there might be a backdoor attempt towards the top keep, which could definitely happen since it's already on half HP. So
yeah, if they lose that keep up there, it's going to make it even more laborious to try and get back into this game. Dealing with 3 waves of cannon minions is a bit annoying. Catapults, whatever you want to call them.
It's kind of impossible, I feel. You have to really win a team fight big time to have those death timers come into play and save you so that you can move out and do the damage, because catapults, they really wreck that core if a few of them get into a good position. But it's 9 kills versus 9 kills, and I'm very looking forward to that. Like, I'm very excited about the next team fight, and both of the teams are trying to lay traps now.
Yeah, might be over Golem, and if Golem goes here for Well Met, then that's going to have a field day up to the top, but El Nexo knows this. They're repositioning themselves just around the vicinity, making sure nothing's going on. They saw the direction where the owl was coming from there, so they know whereabouts Well Met are without having too much info.
27,000 damage on that Panda, 16,000 on Zeratul, and 50,000 on Sergeant Hammer. The heal, 110,000 for El Nexo. For Wilmette, we have 46, not even half of it, all thanks to the healing wards, which also don't have burst heal. What really helps here, of course, is that Soccer has his 13 talent that keeps him alive with a double-dimensional shift, and we're seeing Meridian with a stone form, which is important.
And they might have to give this up. They're looking to move down towards their bottom left-hand boss, or even just try and rival this. And, well, Met is apparently not wanting to take the fight. They're going to give this one up and go up to their own boss, start that out for quickly, and it's just going to be boss for boss. But in my opinion, boss for boss works out better for Met because they have so many forts and so many keeps still alive.
The boss should have a very good shot at dropping the top keep. I'm a bit surprised that we see El Nexo not moving up and try to contest that, because they had all the time in the world to do that.
Yeah.
The move from Wilmette to the top lane to get the boss was very, very late, so it wouldn't have been a problem at all for them to just go in. I think they were very afraid that they might run into a trap and very cautious about that. They also have to de-push the bottom lane, where 3 catapults are now pushing in against the core, so that's important. But they will probably lose the top keep as well now.
And even a few siege golems are going to be with this. Siege giants, even, I should say, are going to be with this. So yeah, there's almost no way that they can keep this keep alive. That golem will do a lot. The siege giants as well. They really need to kill those off fast. Thankfully, Alistair is there already working on those.
Siege Giants are not going to make it for long, but that boss is a completely different story. Bottom lane, the fort already dropped, and the boss for El Nexo making it towards the keep now. Nice ult there on Gadam Hurt for now, but here come... Oh, great Timo, but Vortex is trying. We have Nasibo already down, so that damage is gone. Lucifer is starting to barrel Nomi away. The boss is still alive. They need to be careful about that. They can heal up. They have a bit of an advantage since they are fighting at their own core, but that core is being attacked right now. Lolbur 60 is still alive. This is going to be... this could be game.
Yeah, they can't stop it. They can't stop it. Even get stunned there by the golem, and they are going to fall. And Met take this series 2-0 against El Nexo.
Really impressive and great job by Met. Congratulations, taking the best of 3 at the ESL Major League.
Very well done. And I mean, coming into this tournament, the Major League, me thinking to myself, yeah, El Nexo's going to do great. Unfortunately, right now, they are not. That bumps them down to 5th place in the Major League, and that allows Met to move into technically the top 4, which is the bracket playoff potential going on in a few weeks' time once everything is concluded. So what a brilliant win there for Met.
El Nexo's double healer comp didn't work out at all. Like, that double healer that they played twice doesn't cut it apparently here. So with that, Met playing, of course, a great game, but El Nexo, once again, I feel they had in both of those games, they had crucial misplays at very crucial amounts of time. We had them an entire level ahead of the opponent, and then they lost that one fight that we talked about. But I personally think Chen really screwed that barrel up, because I have my second monitor up, and I'll see on the second monitor with a delay of like a minute or more, I see the game as well, because it's on stream, so I can see the stream. And after we've already been talking about it, I saw the same fight again, and the problem was really that Chen goes in, tries to like get something done, changes targets a couple of times, pushes Nazeebo to the right, and the rest of the team he pushes into his own team to the left. So the entire team fight happens here, and Nazeebo sits over here and is like, well, okay, if everybody ignores me, here's my ult. Have fun with that. And they lost everything in that fight. They lost nearly 2 levels against their opponent. They lost their advantage. They lost double boss, and they got cursed. So that fight, in my opinion, was the big part where they completely fell behind. They lost keep because of that, and it was just a misplay on Chen. And something that usually doesn't happen for Lucifron. So I'm a bit... that surprised me.
I feel that El Nexo's double healer comp could work if it had the other right damage dealers around it. But in a metagame where there are maybe 10 to 15 very heavily picked heroes, where you're always going to have your opposing team picking away the majority of that damage that you really want when you commit to 2 picks of healers, I think maybe later on that it has a place. But right now, when they have the other picks around it, I don't think it works so much here.
I think if you really want to make that work, you need to make sure that the Chen isolates a target.
Okay.
Because like you have the opponent's team has 3 heroes that are very, very low in HP. If you isolate one of them, you have a very great chance of like dropping that immediately. Double healer is great. I don't think they really need a double healer here. Apparently, they really like that setup now. But double healer was something that was played in the last patch like so much.
Yeah.
Now you don't see it that much anymore, like that often. Usually you see really just like teams going for a single healer, and that's about it. Damage has become more important with the damage heroes in the game right now, and with also a lot of the heroes losing a little bit of their tankiness. And that's why that surprised me a bit. But as we already saw, it didn't work out for them today, like not at all.
Yeah, oh well, tough times there for our Nexo, who unfortunately fall to 5th place in the Major League. Now we're going to go to a short break, and then when we're back, we're going to have our second series of the night. It's going to be Who is Kazooie going up against Team Acer.